Welcome to Trending Upward, and this is Chad Hayes. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Trending Upward, and I trust that the podcast today will be a help to you. It is my desire that the Word of God be used in such a way on this platform that it would be a help to you as you seek to trend upward. It is important that this life that we live be an ascending Christian life and not a descending Christian life. I trust it to be a help to you as you listen today. We're going to look at being harmless as doves on today's podcast. Matthew 10 and verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Now, to the world, this wouldn't make sense. We could probably even add our flesh to this. If we use human reasoning, human logic, this doesn't make sense. When we think about an environment of wolves, in our minds, we wouldn't send in sheep. Why? Because in an ordinary situation, sheep don't stand a chance of survival among wolves. The survival of the sheep would be dependent upon their shepherd. Sheep don't know how to fight. They aren't predators. God chose sheep because sheep need to be led. Sheep need wisdom. Sheep need discernment. Sheep needs the protection of their shepherd to go out ahead of them. And you see, had God sent us into the earth as a lion, then we would be king of the jungle more than we already are at times. Sometimes we are the biggest, baddest sheep around, losing sight of who God designed us to be. God designed us to be sheep, and we have instruction to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Are you harmless today? I'm sure if we're honest, we all possess the capability of harm. Are you harmful or harmless? Harmful means simply injurious, which would mean to bring injury. Harmless means not harmful or injurious. Do you know how we know if we contain harm? Whenever we harm others. We know that the harm inflicted upon them had an origin within us. Now think about this. When do we most often harm others? First and by far, the main reason is we have been harmed. It takes a spirit-led and spirit-controlled person to not injure in response to injury. If you injure in response to injury, then in your response you lost the moral high ground. If you become the aggressor in response to the aggressor, are you not one and the same? Now, the second area that we cause much harm is in the area of contending for the faith and standing up for truth. Yes, we should contend for the faith. Yes, we should stand for truth and speak truth and teach truth and preach truth. But our flesh has no part in this fight. It is the Lord that fights through us, as our flesh should be dead. But what happens is, like Peter on the night of Jesus' betrayal and arrest, we are offended in the flesh and not in the spirit, and we pull out the sword and start swinging, trying to injure those around us. Peter, in that passage, fought a spiritual battle in the flesh. Peter loved Jesus. Peter didn't want to see Jesus arrested. Peter didn't want to see Jesus tried. Peter didn't want to see Jesus crucified. And in all actuality, the flesh of Peter was seeking to interfere with the redemption of mankind. Remember today, we are to be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. Our flesh contains much harm, and when you and I get in the flesh, we will harm others. You know, Jesus has a way of working in the hearts of mankind where it ends up being for them and not to them. But in our flesh, we will always wage a war that ends up to be to them and not ultimately for them. Jesus knows how to hurt to help. We know how to hurt others in a way that doesn't help them. So what I'm saying today is you and I haven't been called to fight. We've been called to die and allow the Lord to fight through us. So I invite you today to remember to be harmless as a dove. I'd like to thank you for listening today to Trending Upward. If it's been a help to you, I invite you to share this podcast with someone and help get the word out on how they too can trend upward in their walk with